Well, I haven't put up a video in about a week, so I thought I'd just throw up a little video here. I've been really busy, haven't had a chance to put one up. Last few days, the weather's turned kind of sour, so I haven't really been using the car much. The last three or 4 days anyway. So I wanted to, in this video, kind of talk about the cars from the past that I've worked on, and I found some photos of a few of the cars from the past that I thought I'd put up that I've talked about in previous videos. Give you an idea of some of the cars. Again, you know, a lot of the cars I did was before the digital era, so the cars are either were documented with slides or regular photos or VHS if I have video on them, and I do have some video of them, but they're on VHS. I gotta either put that in the player and record it off the TV or convert it to DVD or something so I can get the files over to where I can put them on YouTube. But anyway, this is going to be mainly about some of the cars I've done in the past, and I hope you enjoy them. And thank you again for watching my videos. That's a screensaver for my computer. It was a photo that was taken at Stony Creek Metro Park in the fall, I think, of maybe 2007 or 8. So it's an older photo of the '59 Chevy. Well, do you think somebody ought to try and talk me into doing a restoration on this car? Old Model A Ford sitting out in the woods. That was up by the cottage up in Paradise. I think it's a little bit beyond restoration, although considering probably how long it's been sitting there and the age of the vehicle, it's actually somewhat solid still considering. I mean, buried in sitting down in the dirt, and you know, I've seen cars a lot worse condition in the woods. This was a '58 Dodge that I picked up, and I think this was about '86, somewhere around in there, maybe the fall of '86. This car only had 50,000 original miles on it. That's the original paint. This car was absolutely 100% original. I didn't have the car very long. I had it for maybe 2 months, 3 months, and I paid $300 for it, and I was offered a ridiculous amount of money for it and sold it. So that's the '58 Dodge Coronet. It was pink and white. It had a silver and black and white interior. The speedometer was interesting. The bar was like a thermometer. The faster you go, the redder it would get, just like in a thermometer. There was no needle. It was just like a tube that turned, and as you went faster, the bar just kept getting redder and redder all the way across. Kind of neat. The push button shift was over here on the left. There was a neutral, a drive, a reverse, and a low button, and then right down here was a big lever you pulled out, and that tightened a band around a drum on the back of the transmission were attached to the drive shaft as your park. There's the view from the other side. This car had all the original hubcaps. I don't know why the back one isn't on there. It might be in the trunk. See, I think that was a 77 or 78 Aspen, and that was a '76 Valiant. That's the engine that was in the '58 Dodge. It was a 230 cubic inch flathead inline 6. It was the original engine. The thing ran like a clock. It had the 2-barrel Bendix Strongberg carburetor on it, and the automatic transmission was a 2-speed automatic. So it wasn't a real powerhouse, but it did run and drive okay. I get a lot of people asking me what kind of shape was the '59 Chevy in when I bought it. Well, there it is, March 12th, 1978. That's the day I bought the car. I paid $75 for it. It had 58,000 original miles on it in that photograph there. That photograph was taken the day I got the car. There I am. I was 17 years old there, sitting inside the '59 Bel Air. That's the original seat upholstery. You can see the embossed vinyl. The upholstery is not the original upholstery anymore. You can see the headliner was kind of damaged, but the dashboard is still a factory original paint to this day. I've never repainted the dashboard. So those are a couple of photos I had of the 59 Chevy. And I do have more photos, I just gotta dig them out. Now here is the 60 Chevy that I had, that I used as an everyday car for about 7 summers. And I was showing in the video with the 59 Chevy was there and the 60 Pontiac was there, and I was talking about how I had photos of the 59 Chevy and the 60 Chevy in the driveway. Well, this is it. That 60 Chevy had, I think, 94,000 miles on it when I purchased it in 1983, I'm going to guess, and it had 160,000 on it when I sold it in 1989. I think it was 89 or 90 when I sold it. It was like the very end of the season when I sold it. That car had the little 283 with a 2-barrel and a turbo glide. It had power steering and power brakes. I had the power steering and power brakes off another 60 Chevy, so it was all factory original stuff. This is the 283 that was in the 60 Chevy. You can see it already had the power steering. There's the power steering. In 59, they drove the power steering off the back of the generator. If you look at my videos of the engine compartment of the 59 Chevy, you'll see the pump on the back of the generator. That was the last year they did that. In 1960, they put a separate pump that was belt driven down on the engine there. This was before I put the power brakes on. I did put an original Bendix power brake booster and the vacuum tank and all the correct stuff on it to add power brakes to it a short time later. There's the reason why I kept the 59 Chevy. I bought a 1975 Vega GT camback station wagon to replace the Chevy as an everyday car, and this was just about the time I sold the Vega. I think it had 133 or 4,000 miles on it. It was a 2.3 liter aluminum block 4-cylinder. The car had factory air, power steering, and it was kind of a slug. It didn't have a lot of power. It was a rattle trap, you know. I mean, it had, the engine was out probably 3 times for overhauling or work, and the transmission had had work done on it. And I'd repaired rust on it and kept it painted up. But, you know, that's the reason why I kept the Chevy. That Chevy would just sit and it would always crank up when I'd go to drive it, and never really had any trouble with the 59 Chevy. So I kept it as a second car because of that Vega. And right next to it was my mom's 1976 Mustang 2 Ghia that had a 302 2-barrel with a C4 automatic transmission in it. That car had very, very low miles. She was at the grocery store one day and somebody made her a ridiculous offer on the car, more than what it cost new. So she sold it in, I think, 90 and bought a new Eagle Talon to replace it. This was a 1969 Chevrolet Custom 10 pickup that I frame off restored. It was a metallic olive green and white. The color combination used to always get compliments on that truck. It was a pretty loaded up truck. It had factory AC, power steering, power brakes, trailer towing equipment. That's what I originally used it for, was towing a travel trailer. You can see the awning of the trailer. This is at the Strait State Park in St. Ignace, Michigan. I used to go up there every year for the Straits Area Antique Auto Show every year for years and years and years. And I would stay at the state park and tow the trailer up with the pickup, and then I could cruise with the pickup while I was up there. Now this was after I restored it. I drove the truck for probably 6 or 7 years before I restored it. It was from Christie Chevrolet Company, North Little Rock, Arkansas. It was kind of in the step bumper on the back there. And this, if you look at my past videos, Cruising Woodward, I showed a shot of this truck going by this past summer, and it still looked just as good as that right there. This was 1995. That was when I frame off restored the truck. I think I got the truck in 90 or 91, somewhere around in there. And it had the 260 horse 350 4-barrel, a Hydromatic 350. It had the trailer towing equipment. You got a bigger radiator, transmission cooler. It had a Class 3 Reese hitch on it. It had the electric brake control. That truck was fully rigged for towing, and the guy that bought the truck from me had a 55 Buick, I think it was, that he trailered to car shows, and he wanted a vintage tow vehicle to tow the Buick with. So he bought that specifically to tow his car trailer so he could tow his cars to shows with a vintage vehicle. That's what the truck looked like when I got it. So somebody had painted it that horrific teal color that was kind of faded, and the windshield started leaking. So I pulled the windshield to repair it, and I noticed the roof was white, and then I started, one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I had the truck down to the very bare chassis and completely rebuilt the truck. There's the cab of the truck out. I still haven't put like some of the emblems back on yet. I just set the box back on here. The wheel wells are still out. I disassembled the box. I disassembled the cab. Basically completely disassembled the truck right down to every last nut and bolt and rebuilt the truck. And it was literally like a brand new truck when I was done. And I didn't want to scratch it or mark it up or have anything happen to it. And it was my tow vehicle. So I bought a F-150, and that's why I sold the pickup, because I just didn't use it after I restored it. I think I so-called ruined it. There's the cab. I was just cleaning up the cab. I had some neighbors over here in this house here. I put it in their garage while I worked on the box. Just put the cab and chassis in there, and then when I got the box done, I brought the truck back over and finished putting it back together. So that was just a little bit, and like I say, I'll put the link to that video, and I'll try and find where it is in the video, but that truck was on Woodward Avenue last summer, and it looked just as good as that right there. It really looked amazing. I think he's still running those plates on it, because I told him I sold him with the authentic plates, and I let him have the plates with the truck, and I think he switched the registration over to his name on them. This was a 1935 Chevrolet 1.5 ton grain truck that I restored for Wolcott Mill Metro Park. This truck was one of those trucks where people would come out and look at it and they would walk away or laugh and say no way. And I was begged to come out and look at this truck to see if I'd be willing to take it on. And they asked me to promise them to look at it with an open mind and not laugh or walk out as soon as I saw the truck. So with an open mind, I went and looked at the truck and realized, it was actually a really solid truck. I think it only had, I don't even think it had 40,000 miles on it. I think it had maybe 35 or 6,000 miles on it, being a 35. And it had a longer frame, and somebody had welded onto the frame and added onto the box to it, and they'd put bales of hay, and then the people would jump off the hay onto the roof, so the roof was all stoved in. Then they'd jump on the hood, the hood was all stoved in, then onto the fenders, and then onto the ground. So these were even smashed. So there was a lot of bumping, but the only rust in the truck, so to speak, was right here on the bottom of the doors and these cab corners here was the only rust through. There was no paint left on the truck whatsoever. It was devoid of paint. And so I told them, yeah, I would take it. So I took the cab and took it off the chassis and took the cab, and these roof panels were riveted onto the body, so I was able to separate the rivets, and I sent everything out and had it all acid dipped, and I bumped the roof all out, bumped the hood out, bumped the fenders out, repainted it all. The dashboard in this thing was all carved up from everybody that had ever worked on the farm or ridden in the truck, and I photographed that extensively before I restored it. The farm wanted the truck 100% restored to a factory original. The grain box was made by one of the wood carpenters at the Metro Park, and the door frames and everything in these old trucks were wood. The floorboards, door frames. So the carpenter at the Metro Park, I would give him the pieces of wood that were rotten, and he actually made me new pieces that fit absolutely perfect. They're just like the original piece. Did an amazing job with the woodwork. I did all the sheet metal and body and paint. That truck has a its original 206 inline 6 and 4-speed manual transmission, and it has manual brakes that are, they're steel rods with clevises. They're not hydraulic. So you got to really step on the brakes to stop that thing. I think that was the last year they used mechanical brakes before they went to hydraulic. And the transmission is not synchronized, so you got to double clutch every gear up and down, shifting it. So it's a little bit of a challenge to drive, but it is really a fun old truck to drive. So I basically did the body restoration on this. The guy at the Metro Parks, the carpenter there, made the grain box for it. And what they do is they put bales of hay in there, and then they shuttle kids from the mill to the farm center. This is at Wolcott Mill Metro Park in Ray Township, Michigan. And the farm is just a couple miles up the road. So when they have school groups and whatnot out there, they'll load all the kids into the grain box there, and they'll drive them from the mill to the farm. Now, if you go out to Wolcott and the truck isn't out and you want to see it, ask them if they'll open up the garage that it's in, or a lot of times they even pull it out. They also have a Model T Ford truck there that was the original truck to the farm, and I repaired the frame on it. It had a broken frame, and I repaired it. It was a bunch of volunteers that put the Model T together. And it's kind of sad because everyone was like, well, you know, we should replace this, replace that. So basically that original Model T, it didn't have the original engine. It didn't have, you know, things have been changed over the past, 50 or 75 years. So they wanted to put it to where it was all correct, the way it would have been rolled off the assembly line. So in my mind, it's not the same truck anymore. It's a different truck. They hung all the parts on a wall from the original truck, and I think you could take all those parts and put them together and have the original truck back. So I was kind of disappointed with that particular job on the Model T Ford truck that they have there. It's more of a concourse restoration than putting the original old truck back together and making it usable on the farm and mill like it was originally used when it was purchased by the Wolcotts. The Wolcott Mill is a grain mill. It's an interesting place. I think you'd enjoy it. Sorry, the screen went dark there. This was at the Auto 100 parade for the 100th anniversary of the automobile. So I drove the truck in that parade. That was the year of the first Woodward Dream Cruise. There it is, coming down 8 Mile Road. There I am driving the truck. There we were kind of stopped for traffic, kind of jammed up, and so we just came to a stop. But that's one sweet running old truck. I really enjoyed driving it in that parade. That was my reward for the restoration work I did on this truck. And there were parts missing. I had to hunt around. The headlight assemblies were missing. And so I just went on a junkyard search kind of all over the country and found parts that it was missing, and we got it all back together, and really beautiful old truck. That's probably one of the top favorite vehicles I've done. That old farm truck was really a cool old truck to do. And it still runs and drives and looks that nice right now. This is another frame-off restoration project. It was a 38 Ford. That was a 100 horsepower Mercury engine. It was not the original engine to the 38 Ford. So I rebuilt this engine, and I did a few little odds and ends to it to get a little more performance. I put a little thing in that's held in with that stud in the center exhaust port to kind of direct the exhaust out through the manifold, because otherwise they kind of blow back towards one another in the ports. They're kind of poorly, they breathe poorly, so you could play with them a little bit and get a little bit more performance out of them. So I did a few little minor changes, and that engine I think was bored, as I remember, I think it was bored 60 over. The cylinders were pretty worn, and so that is the engine transmission assembly. I rebuilt the engine and the transmission and the differential in this, and had the radiator record, and completely rebuilt the whole braking system, everything on the chassis, the shock absorbers. This has a torque tube in it, doesn't have a drive shaft. I worked for a company that made ambulances and paddy wagons and handicap vans, and they made basically vans for all different uses. They made vans for African safaris, and when the chassis would come from the factory, they had these little seats in it, so I just got one and bolted it to the chassis so I could drive the chassis around. And I do have video of driving that chassis around. It is VHS, so I'll try and get it over and just put it up on YouTube here. It was just kind of neat seeing this old chassis running around. There's a little closer up of the engine. You can see the distributor in the front there. Fuel pump, 2-barrel carburetor. Had a water pump on each side, the old flatheads do, so that you had literally a separate cooling system for each bank of cylinders, but they went into the same radiator. And there's the chassis from the rear. I don't have photos of the car, well, I do have photos of the car complete, but I couldn't find them. So this is what I found of the 38 Ford. So I just thought I'd throw this in here. That was probably one of my more favorite vehicles. That and that farm truck. I think those were my two favorite vehicles that I've done major restoration work on. This is what I used to do for a living. Years back, I was a marine mechanic. I probably did that for close to 20 years. I had my own business, would go to the dock or to their home or wherever their boat was to do it. That van was fully equipped with tools and parts, and I could go right to the boat and do the complete service work. That was a 69 Chevrolet P30 chassis. It had a 350 4-barrel with a creeper gear 4-speed in it. The body was an Olson Curbmaster. It was all aluminum, so there was 0 rust on it. There's the instrument panel. Kind of the dash. The steering wheel was kind of beat up, but it served its purpose. It did the job. There's a kind of a front view. So that was my work van. Look at the old Sanyo slide-in under-dash mount FM stereo 8-track. That 8-track still worked in that photo. It's still, I had a couple old 8-tracks and I plugged one into it and it actually played still. I was blown away. Neat old van. I sold the van. A guy that does plumbing work bought the van when I sold the business off. And so yeah, that's one of the, I worked for Romeo Community Schools at the school bus garage on the co-op program when I was in high school, and I worked in Jerome Duncan Ford. They were one of the largest Ford dealers in the nation for quite a while, and then I worked for a robotics company and an aircraft prototype company, and then I drove a truck for a while, and then I went into working on boats, and that's what I really enjoyed. Working on cars was like a rat race when you work in a dealer. It's like, how fast can you get it in, get it done and out the door where they don't care if it's done right or not. Just get it in, get it out so they can make their money. And I was more of the type that would like to make sure things are right. Well, with boats you have to, because liability insurance, sorry the furnace just came on, but liability insurance was second to aircraft mechanics for boat mechanics, because if you get out on the water and your boat stops running and a storm blows in, it can be life or death. So you have to make sure they're right with boats. And so it was kind of nice. I really enjoyed going out to the water, working on a boat at a dock on a beautiful summer day. It was just a lot of fun. Well, you've heard me talk about station wagons in my videos. I do like the old station wagons. This station wagon here is a 1981 Ford Country Squire. It had the 302 or 5-liter with the variable Venturi and the automatic overdrive transmission. That car was a courtesy car at the world headquarters when it was brand new, so that car was 100% fully loaded. Even the paint color was an option on that car. I bought the car from Ford with a bad motor because they had used it to run people from world headquarters and to their wherever they were staying and run big wigs around and whatnot, and they never changed oil or checked oil or did anything to it, so they trashed the engine. So I got the car really cheap. I put a new engine in it. And I drove that car over 300,000 miles. And in that photo, that car at that time had well over 200,000 miles on it, and that's still all the original paint and everything on the car. That was one of the best cars I've ever owned in my life. It never gave me any trouble whatsoever. And wagons, they are the most awesome car for road trips. I've taken that car. That car was all over hell and gone. And if you look at my past videos, you'll see me riding a 1976 Honda XL175, and I got that motorcycle brand new, and there it is, brand new in 1976. It still runs and looks just as good. The clutch slips, it leaks a little oil. Some of the paint on the side cover's peeled. The front of the frame here is kind of chipped up and rusted a bit from the years of stones and dirt and stuff hitting it, because I do ride it. It has over 20,000 miles on it. And if anyone that knows anything about these little off-road bikes or dirt bikes, 10,000 miles on a motorcycle is like 100,000 miles on a car. So 20,000 miles on that little bike is like 200,000 miles on a car. It still has the original timing chain. It has the original points and condenser. I replaced the spark plug in it, I think once or twice. I changed the oil in it every 500 miles since it was new. It still will start on the first or second kick. I think maybe that'll be one of these winter projects. Maybe this coming winter or the following, I'll pull it apart, repaint the frame, repaint these side covers, put a new clutch in it, fix oil leaks, maybe throw a new timing chain in it. And the rest of it I'll just leave alone because it's fine. But there it is, brand spanking new. And if you look at my past videos, you'll see it being ridden just within the recent past. Another car I had in the past that I really loved that gave me no troubles was this 86 Lincoln Town Car Signature Series. It had the EFI 302 automatic overdrive. That car was completely loaded too. It had a 12-disc CD changer in the trunk. Really was an awesome car. I absolutely loved it. When I traded it in, it was like losing a limb off my body. I really, really liked the car, but you know, I needed a different vehicle. It served its purpose. It had, I don't know, it had 140 or 50,000 miles on it when I sold it. I think it had 40,000. I bought it used and it had 40,000 miles on it when I bought it. But I do love those old Lincolns, the old boxy ones like that. I think they're awesome. Now, I don't know how many of my viewers are into artwork, but a friend of mine, Shannon Goff, she was at Cranbrook in the ceramics department, and she wanted to do a gigantic dashboard of a neat old car. And she saw the dashboard in my '59 Chevy, and she was like, I'm going to make a ceramic dashboard based on it. So this is basically her rendition of a '59 Chevrolet dashboard that was actually from photos and looking at the dashboard in my '59 Bel Air that I currently own. And let's see, that's another view of it right there. I think she did a great job. I think that's in the, she did two of them. One was cardboard, because if you can make it out of cardboard, you can make it out of ceramic. And the other is, this one is the ceramic one. And one of them was in the Hard Rock Cafe in the CompuWare, or I'm not sure exactly where. I'd have to ask her. The other one's in a lawyer's office, I think in Kansas City, Missouri. And she makes a lot of neat things. She made a life-size, that is a actual sized cardboard helicopter. She wrote in the real helicopter, and then she made a cardboard version of it. She likes to make things, and if you can make it out of cardboard, you can make it out of ceramics. So she likes to make things like life-size. So that's her life-size helicopter. She made a grand piano out of cardboard. She made a Lincoln like that Lincoln I had out of cardboard. I think she's a professor now at Penn State and State College, Pennsylvania. And her name's Shannon Goff. If you want to Google it and see some of the work she does some pretty darn neat stuff. Well, one last thing before I call this video done, I'll give my friend Dave a shout out. I see he was in the latest issue of the Cruise News. This is the May of 17 issue. And there's a little article in here on his '59 oops, 59 Cadillac four-door sports sedan. He has one of every model 59 GM car four-door sports sedan, and when I get the chance, Dave, I'll have to come out with the camera and get a nice day maybe in the next couple weeks. If I'll drive the Pontiac out and we'll get some video of those cars I can put on YouTube if you don't mind. The Cruise News is kind of a southeast Michigan. Well, it covers a little bit Ohio, Indiana, actually probably all over the country and world. It's so, you know, if you want to subscribe to it, it's the goings-ons with the cars. If you're interested in getting a subscription to the Cruise News, you can pause it and you will have the information you need to get a subscription to it. It's a good, really good car magazine. People that do repairs, parts, stories on cars. I think my 59 Chevy's been featured in here a couple of times. But it's a monthly magazine for the car cruisers. So just kind of a shout out to Dave and congratulations with your 59 Cadillac there. And I'm going to end this video. Again, thank you for watching my videos. I hope you enjoy them, and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy them. Thank you again. One other note I wanted to make, Dave's 59 Olds four-door hardtop was in a picture up in my dad's driveway up in Romeo on Labor Day a year ago or so. I'll put the description, or I'll put the link down in the description, and you can click on it so you can see that car if you want. Pretty neat car. Also, the mini bike show, or the bike show that was in Saline, it was just a rainy, crummy day all day, so I ended up not going. I didn't really want to sit out in the rain or put this in the back of the truck out in the rain, but I am going to sell it. I'm going to ask $1,200 for it. I'll consider offers. It's going to be a cash deal. If anyone's interested in a 69 Ruttman, just message me. I made the chain guard. That's not factory. Originally the Ruttman had like a chrome doohickey over here and a band around the clutch for a brake, but I made that chain guard and I put a disc brake on it. It uses the sprocket for the rotor, so you can see kind of where the brake shoe's right on the sprocket where there's no paint. But it's a 69 Ruttman horny toad, and it has a 68 5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. The engine was originally on a rotor tiller. It starts usually on the first or second pull. It puffs a little smoke now and then at idle, but oil level never goes down in the crankcase, and zooming along it doesn't seem to smoke any. If you look at my past videos of riding it, you'll see sometimes at one time I had the camera clamped back here and you could see the exhaust, so you could see it puff a little smoke. So it gives you an idea what you know, how the engine runs. Engine's not been rebuilt. I didn't even reseal it. I just cleaned it and painted it. Got it running, cleaned it and painted it. It was all I did.